the most wonderful time watching out in the sea. It's got new things, adventurous things, and I'm sure you're going to have a wonderful time too as you join us here on our adventure ship for another real great time. You know, as I was looking out at the sea, I was kind of thinking how fascinating really the sea is. And I think it'd be a good thing if maybe I went over and taught some of our crew some of the things about the sea, and I think you'd be interested in it too. Why don't we just go over down on the deck and see if we can find Rod and Basil browsing around somewhere, and we'll look into some of these things, okay? Let's go over and see what we can.
Sailing with Captain Dick.
Well, boys, it sounds like you're real happy today. How's everything going?
Oh, real good.
Got all those dishes washed, buddy?
Yeah. And the potatoes I feel?
Well, good enough. Well, let's just join with the rest of the gang here on the rail and have some fun. You know, I was just thinking, I was looking down into the water here, and I was thinking, actually, what a treasure there is down in this ocean water. You ever think about that?
Why?
You know that in every particle of seawater, they say that there's a tiny, minute particle of gold.
Gold in the water?
Yes, sir. They say that there are probably millions of tons of gold in the ocean.
Hey, maybe we should start mining it. Look at all of it here.
Well, you can't really see it here. Sometimes you can see it on a beach, though. You see these little gold particles in the sand? You know, the reason why they don't mine it is because it would cost too much to refine it out of the water. But there is gold in the water. There's also other treasures that a lot of people don't know about. You know, there was a boy and a girl up in New England that were walking along the shore, and they were looking out at the breakers there, and they saw a kind of a grayish mass that had washed up on the shore.
No kidding, what was it?
Well, they didn't know what it was. They picked it up, and they must have put it in a bucket, and then they took it home.
Hey, look, I see something going by right now.
Well, no. And they showed this gray mass to their dad, and he didn't know exactly what it was either. And then they took it to a chemist in one of the nearby towns, and they found out that it was ambergris.
Huh?
Yes, ambergris.
Amber who?
Ambergris. Haven't you ever heard of it?
No.
Well, maybe some of you haven't heard of it either. Ambergris is very valuable.
No, so what?
This boy and this girl got $1,000 from this gray blob of ambergris.
$1,000?
Yeah, they make perfume out of it. It comes from whales. Whales deposit it in the sea, and then sometimes it washes up on shore, sometimes it's just floating around in the water. And they've even been known to find pieces worth up to $10,000.
Well, what do you know, from the whale?
You bet. And they make beautiful perfume out of it.
Perfume?
Yeah.
All the whales I ever smelled didn't smell like perfume.
Well, no, they don't get the basic smell. They just use the base of the ambergris. It makes the perfume last longer. I bet we could ask even Betty about it.
Yeah, I wonder if she's got any whale oil.
No. Well, we'll have to ask her sometime if she's got any oil. So as you're looking down in the water here, be sure to, you know, someday you may be lucky and find a piece of ambergris. So, you keep your eye peeled, will you, buddy?
Hey, look! Look there!
Yeah. Oh, look at that. What? Well, how about that?
No, Ben, come back here.
No, I almost went over.
What did you think that was?
Saw an amberhockey.
No, it's ambergris.
Oh!
That was just a piece of seaweed.
Oh.
No, this is kind of like a jelly mass.
Let's go down and see if Betty's got any.
Well, let's see what Betty's doing. Okay, we'll see you in Betty's cabin.
I think you remember this picture from last time. I just wanted to leave it on here so you could see just what was happening now. This is Rolly. You remember he got captured first by the robbers. And then because Doc did something rather foolish, both Doc and Casey got captured too. And over here is the youngest of the bank robbers. His name is Joe. And you remember the big fellow, the leader. His name is Big Jim Dalton, and you remember how he pointed the gun at these two fellows when he first caught them? Well, where's Flip? I think you remember that we sent Flip for the police. So we're going to leave these three boys tied up here, and we're going to follow Flip and see whether he's had any success. Because Flip is an Indian, he knows how to get through the woods pretty rapidly, and it didn't take him long to get to the nearest town. When he went into the police station, though, he didn't have as much success as he thought he would. In fact, the police wouldn't even believe him. They said, "You, just a young fellow talking about bank robbers? Run away with your stories. We don't want to listen to that." They thought he was making it all up. Well, Flip didn't know what to do then. What do you do when you can't get the police to believe that your buddies are in the hands of some bank robbers? Of course, remember, he didn't know that Casey and Doc were there, too. He was just thinking of Rolly. So here he sits. He goes outside the police station, and he sits down by the curb. And you've never seen such a dejected-looking boy. Because here, his newfound friends, the ones that he's really gotten acquainted with so nicely, are up in trouble, and he can't even make the police believe. What's a fellow going to do in a case like that? Well, Flip remembers what Rolly's favorite verse is. Call upon the Lord in time of trouble, and he will deliver you. And Flip thinks, well, if Rolly calls on the Lord and the Lord delivers him, maybe I could do the same thing. So Flip, as he's sitting down here by the curb, decides to pray. Now remember, Flip has not been a praying fellow before that. It's a little hard for him to pray. He doesn't know what to say either at first. So he just bows his head and he says, "Lord, help me." Well, that kind of prayer can be very easily heard by the Lord. But when Flip lifted up his head, he thought, I wonder just how the Lord's going to answer that prayer. And, well, he's kind of a big fellow, but there was a little tear in this eye, just a small one, and it started to come down, and Flip decided he better get his handkerchief out and get that tear away. So he reached his hand into his pocket, and instead of his handkerchief, he felt something rather peculiar. It was very odd. Let me draw it for you here. It's a rather odd handkerchief if it was one. It wasn't a handkerchief at all, was it? It was that money bag that the police, that they found in the cave. And on the money bag, what did it say? First National Bank, Middleburg. Well, it didn't take Flip long to realize that this was the answer to prayer. The Lord had answered right away. So Flip took the money bag and ran into the police station and said, "Here, this money bag is the one that the robbers left. Now do you believe me?" Well, the police, of course, believed him. He had evidence. And so the police and Flip are heading back to the woods. Do you suppose they're going to get there in time to rescue the fellow? Well, you'll have to come right back here to my cabin next time, and we'll find out if the police and Flip get there in time. I'll be looking for you. Bye.
Well, hi, mate. Sure had a terrific time there in Daddy's cabin, didn't we? I'm telling you, there's going to be great times ahead. You know, the boys are really learning some important lessons through this captivity, you might say. And sometimes when we get into trouble or when something bad happens to us, it's the Lord's opportunity to teach us a good lesson. And maybe all of this happened just so that Flip could learn an important lesson that he learned today. And he learned the lesson that the Bible's been trying to teach us for an awful long time. You know, in the good book it says, way back here in Matthew, the 21st chapter, the 22nd verse, whatever you ask in prayer, you will receive if you have faith. And old Flip must have had faith because he plopped himself down there on the sidewalk. He wasn't going to leave that place until he had gotten those police to come out and help the rest of the boys. He had faith and he prayed. And boy, the Lord answered his prayer too, didn't he? Well, we hope all of you too have real faith and pray. You know, the greatest man that ever lived in the whole world was a man that prayed, Jesus Christ. And he believed in prayer, and he knew that prayer was answered. And sometimes he would even stay up all night and pray. And you know, maybe you won't have to stay up all night, I'm sure you won't. But it was a good lesson to teach us that we ought to pray. And I hope you do pray before you go to bed and before you sit down and eat your food and at any other time. You know, we can pray to the Lord just anywhere. And that's what the Lord wants us to do, doesn't he? Well, say I put in a call for Betty. I wanted her to come up to the cabin here. I had a few things to talk over. We're not going to talk about whale juice. We better not tell her about what Rod and I had to say about whales. But
Hi, Captain.
well, how are you, Betsy?
Fine.
Good to see you. Say, you know, we've been receiving lots of wonderful letters from all the gang,
Good.
and they've really been thankful for your part in our ship here. And they've really been thrilled with these adventure stories, and I'm sure many of them have gotten some of the lessons.
That's
Don't you
what
think
I
so?
want. That's what I want. And I like to read some of the letters. Dick lets me read some of them. And I'm especially pleased when you boys and girls are looking to the Lord, too, just like these fellows did.
And I hope our mates out there are praying.
I think
we'll
they are.
learn that lesson. Sure, some of them even written letters that tell about it. And it's a terrific thing. Well, we certainly enjoy having you as the official hostess on our ship to greet the gang into your cabin. And we've got quite some adventures ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Can you give us any hint what's happening? No hints? I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. I suppose there's some exciting times ahead, though. Well, I hope so. And we want all of you, every single one of you, to be an official member of our Porthole gang, don't we, Betty? And all you have to do is to write a letter to Captain Dick, Watertown, South Dakota. And if you've got something exciting to tell, we'd enjoy sharing it with you. But if you don't, well, just tell us a little about yourself, where you live, what you do, what grade you're in, and so forth. We want to have you as a member. Well, it's time to shove off now, but we'll be seeing you again real soon. Bye.
Bye.